The wild creatures are coming out to play in the Low Country. So what happens when one is found on or around your private property? Attorney David Ayler is here to talk about homeowners' rights and what neighborhood associations can and cannot do. Welcome, as always.
Glad to be back, of course.
Yes.
This is kind of a controversial situation
It
for a lot of
is,
people.
and this was actually one of our viewers' questions.
Okay.
And the setup was, on his, he lives on a lake,
Right.
which, was part of the HOA. There was a gator living in the lake, and when he was out of town, they went on his property and removed the gator. So I'll let you take it from there if that's...
Well, the thing with HOA is a lot of times there's going to be community property within, that the HOA actually owns. Like to give you an example would be the clubhouse or the pool.
Sure.
And those places, of course, are completely maintained and controlled by the HOA or the people that they hire. And then outside of that, sometimes you have where they'll get easements, HOA easements to enter your property. Sometimes that may be as simple as because they're doing some sort of sewage work or, things with landscaping, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, they're not allowed to come onto your property without, of course, getting permission first. However, if they're just using your property to go through your property to get to what is their property, there may be an easement there. And it sounds like if this lake was, sort of the property was in between where the lake, which was HOA property, they would be able to go get it. But it really all just depends. You have to look real specific to what your HOA terms are. And that's true of anything to do with the HOA, from the voting to the easements to the restrictions, all that sort of thing.
So you can imagine any of us that live around a lake or a pond adjacent to that body of water would be an easement for them to get in and treat it.
Right, exactly. If the HOA controls and maintains the pond, then they're going to be able to get in there one way or another. Now, if the gator or some other type of animal was on your own property, even if it was not domesticated but was there, and they came in under those circumstances, I think you might have a different situation. But a lot of people feel very strongly about HOAs, as we know from a lot of the calls we get, and you really need to go back and pay attention to what the policies are when you move in, and then try to be some active of a role within the HOA, so you can follow who's actually winning the elections, because they do have elections. They vote on laws, all those sort of things. Unfortunately, what happens often is people sort of don't pay attention to it. They're busy with their own lives, and then something happens, and they're like, "Wait a minute, how did this happen? How did I let this happen?" And you may have let it happen because you didn't go vote against it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I live where there's an HOA, and
Right.
you always see those fired up messages on like the community Facebook page,
Of course, oh yeah,
ranting against the HOA. So even let's say you're going to buy property right now, are there certain things you should look for in an HOA that would make it a good situation?
Yeah, you really want to look to see how restrictive some of the covenants are, what they're allowed to do, what they won't allow you to do. You have a lot of situations where people have ideas with the home on what they want to do. Simple stuff like maybe add on a porch or make an addition on the back of the house for like a guest house, and then they're restricted from doing that because of the HOA. Those laws were already in place within that community prior to you getting there. People just don't pay attention, and I'm not going to say that every time a realtor is going to point it out to you, because they may not know what your wishes are, and their job is to sell the house. So you really do want to take a look at that before you move in, particularly if it's a permanent setting. If you're renting a place for a little while, it's not going to probably be that big of a deal.
For sure. And really quickly, not to make the HOA villains, because they can obviously, be good things and keep things orderly, obviously.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good things HOA does as far as keeping up the community and keeping the decency and the standards of the community. So there's very much a good functioning purpose for it. Unfortunately, it usually falls on just a few residents that are involved in it, and then if somebody else is against it, they feel like that they're getting bullied on. In reality, if everybody participated, just like regular voting, we'd have a lot less discourse, I guess.
Okay. So don't complain, participate.
Exactly.
In your HOA.
Go vote at your HOA elections.
David Ayler, thank you so much.
Thanks
We've
for
got
having me.
much more coming up right here on Low Country Live in just a moment.